So, my name is Nuria Sauri, the Senior Training and Consulting Partner at ProQuest for Spain and Portugal, which means I train in resources. This is a half an hour session, which is called Scholarly Authoring Workshop about publishing in academic journals. It's going to be a short introduction, so it's aimed for you to learn some concepts and then to explore further if you want to in the future. So we're going to give you some standard rules to get an article published, to present the peer review process, at least to know the basics of it, evaluating open access, and then we'll talk a little bit about predatory publishing. In fact, it sounds a bit, daunting with lots of information, but it's not, because it's going to be organized in 5 tips. 5 tips that you can actually use to actually publish. So, which are those tips? Which tips are we talking about? Well, before giving you the tips, let me present you a concept that probably you know, which is called publish or perish. This is something that it's making the rounds in the academic publishing, which is this need that any researcher has to publish or not be known, to perish also. So this is a concept that this is being criticized, this need to publish. We know that, and we wanted to put this slide to address it, but sadly this is how it is, and this is something that it still needs to be done, especially for qualifying agencies like ANECA in Spain, or to get tenure in the United States. So yeah, we're aware of this, and we are aware of the problematics of publish or perish, that it doesn't even if it happens, it doesn't mean that you will be successful, but still, we still need to analyze the fact of publishing, and this is why we can give you 5 tips. So the tips are, the first one is know your field. The second one is pick the right journal. Tip 3, write well. 4, follow submission lines. And 5, accept feedback and revise. Then, to know your field and to define your topic, you need to define a subject area, okay? So what is a topic? Well, a topic is a subject area, okay? It's your specialized area, something you probably know already, but you need to define what are you going to do in a more specific way. And what are we dealing with? Well, it can be a lot of things. It can be a controversy, for example, drones. It can be something that needs an answer, a problem that is unsolved. It can also be a pastime or something that interests you. For example, video games. There is a lot of research on video games. Who are doing the research on video games? Well, probably people who play video games when they are not working. So yeah, something that, especially in social sciences, something that you can really, really enjoy can become subject of academic interest on a paper. So yeah, don't give up. Then the second thing is that you should aim to find a gap in the research that you are filling, okay? Something that a question that it's been unanswered, or a question that doesn't have a specific answer. And here the big doubt is, but should I pick something that is already being discussed? Yes, you should actually, because maybe this question doesn't have a definite answer, and then you maybe can bring something to this in order to have it properly answered, or maybe it's not supported by adequate research and it needs further research. So you can actually contribute to that. It's like a long chain of contributions to an area, but it should really address something that is up for debate. So it should be something that is, juicy, where you can actually work on that. And when you define your topic, you need context. So you need to explore a little bit the context of whatever it is that you're going to research, and you need to locate and evaluate your sources. So you actually need to find them. How do I find proper sources? Well, we're going to present you some options, but you have an excellent library at UOC, so please use your library. There are lots of resources at your disposal. If you don't know how to navigate them, in doubt, you always can ask a librarian, and they will be more than happy to help you out. At ProQuest, we are content providers of the library of UOC, and we have lots of databases at your disposal, and you can access them from the resources tab in the website of UOC. And our platform has lots of features that can actually help you out. You can create alerts to select the research. You can access your records and you can create a private account where you can store information. So it's actually a good place to start and to find authoritative information, because all of our resources are academic and are specifically designed for research actually. Number 2, pick the right journal, as easy and as difficult as it is. Check the references of whatever it is that you're doing. You probably know top journals in your area of research. Why? Well, because you have been reading them for a long time. So yeah, that's probably where you need to get started. Follow the references of an article that you find interesting, and there you will find tips. And there's also metrics, you know, the impact factor based on Web of Science made by a company called Clarivate, and they actually measure citations and create rankings based on citations. And then another citation-based metric is Scopus, which is from the company Elsevier. Both you can access via the library at UOC. The second one also has a second metric called Seimago Journal and Country Rank. These are metrics that sort out the publications in this quality indicator. But the thing is that these kind of metrics are being discussed and argued and controversial. So you might read that some people say they are not, they don't fill certain areas of knowledge. If you are in medicine or STM, science, technical, and medical, you will be fine. But if you are in social sciences or humanities, probably these indexes won't be very helpful. But then being indexed, for example, by MLA or by all these kind of specific databases, there you will find also good quality journals that can help you out. And then we will present your research in a minute. That will be also very helpful. But yeah, probably you already know the red journal to publish. Now, let me discuss a little bit something which is the peer review process, or what happens when I send a submission to a journal. Well, first of all, there is a pre-selection. Does it meet the basic standards and journal criteria? Meaning, if there is a page of requirements, please read it before. I know it sounds very obvious, but it's not. Sometimes people don't read that and they get something called a desk rejection, which is a rejection because you didn't use the proper citation style, more than that, because it's too long and it doesn't comply with the standards. So yeah, please check those. And then if everything goes well and then it's accepted for review, there are several kinds of review. There is an open review where you know who is revising you and the revisor know and the reviewer knows who are you. Then there is something called single blind, where the names of the reviewers are hidden from the author, but they know who wrote the article. And that is the most common and very popular, especially in sciences, called double blind, which means that both author and reviewer are hidden from each other. So you don't really know who did that. Although, let me say that if your area is very small and everybody knows each other, well, probably you can end up knowing who's doing that. Yeah. Then it comes the acceptance, yay, or the rejection, more on that later, and the revision and the resubmission. So if they tell you that you need to make some revisions or change things for clarity, for example, you should do so. Or they might ask you for further data to, back up whatever it is that you wrote. This process is a mark of trust. So it's a quality control that journals put in place, and it's essential, especially in the health field, where we need to ensure patient safety. But it doesn't mean that it's not controversial. Okay, it's something that's being discussed, and below I listed some of the criticism of the process. Bias by US, but not only US, Anglo-speaking, English-speaking world, which already owns the academic publishing. But it's true that this actually makes that many of those journals are published in those areas, and there is a bias in there. It's undeniable. And the second one is the lack of gender diversity. And I would be bold and say lack of diversity, period, because of what we saw above. So basically, people are actually in the same places, so it can be that. The other thing is that some people say that the process is inefficient. Inefficient in the sense that it takes a long time, so it's not very efficient. It's time consuming, so, and that shows. And last but not least, it's a thankless task for reviewers. it's a difficult job, it's not very recognized, and it's very, a lots of work, and you don't really get thanks, and sometimes you even get criticized for that. But it's true that it's this is a long road, but it's a good road for career success, and many researchers will tell you that. Some start doing reviews in journals, so that's actually something that it's worth exploring, especially, for example, in your local field, if you know somebody who is publishing a journal or something like that. At the Procus platform, we actually have a peer review filter. Okay, it's here. If you check it in Spanish it's called Evaluado por Expertos, but it's here in the main page of any database and also in the results page as a filter. Like that, we ensure that all the publications are filtered in that search, have a peer review process. So we guarantee that everybody can actually be part of the process. So yeah, it's something that it's actually really, really, really useful. So it's a tip for you. Remember that if you have any questions, you can use the chat, and the chat I will check them out and answer them now or maybe at the end if we have some time. Now let me introduce to predatory publishing, and actually the joke works in English because this is actually a predator, so yeah, nice joke. The predatory publishing is something related to the open access model. The open access model is a model normally when traditional publishing, authors don't pay for publish, but then when you want to read an article, you need to have a subscription. And normally libraries like UOC, they invest a lot of money in subscribing journals for you to read. But the open access is, the other way. It's open for all readers, but authors need to pay in order to publish. It's called gold open access. Now there are other models where nobody pays actually, but the one with the big publishers is the gold open access model. And this actually the European Union, for example, when you get funding for your research, sometimes you get, part of the budget is for that, to pay APC, author processing charges are called in English. This model, which is super nice, and then I will tell you a little more about that, it's been exploited by unscrupulous companies who basically take advantage of the need to publish that we discussed before, and they publish anything they submitted, regardless of the quality. So maybe some of you have received emails telling you that your article or something that you presented in a journal or something like that is very interesting. Please send it to me because we will publish. This, is very good for your ego, but sadly, probably it's a predatory journal. So what happens? An American librarian called Jeffrey Bill from United States, Texas, if I remember well, he defined some criteria for predatory journals. He also made a list, which has been quite controversial as well. It's not being maintained anymore, but it's a good place to start. So it's over in the internet, and there are links at the end of the presentation where you can have it. But what is interesting here are Bill's criteria to predatory journals. So we have the lack of role of clarity. The journal title is the same of the publisher is the owner, and the editor, it's all the same person. Suspicious. The editorial board lacks number and diversity, meaning it's the same board for all the journals. Suspicious as well. The lack of clarity of where is this publisher actually. You don't know, they don't say actually. Many journals, little publication history, bad news as well. False claims around indexing inclusion. They say they are indexed by Web of Science and Scopus, but then you go check and the journal is not there. So please go and check. Poorly maintained websites, broken links, bad design, etc., etc. And last but not least, what I mentioned before, they send emails claiming and wanting your publication when in fact they are actually spamming you. So be very careful and very mindful of that. But still, I really want to, emphasize that open access is a fantastic source. There are many reputable and open access journals that you should actually check. For example, PLOS, which is a publisher that does open access, and it's excellent. And how do we do that? How do we discern the good from the bad? Well, be aware of Bill's criteria. I mean, you can apply that. If it's suspicious, it's probably suspicious. So rule it out. Use your knowledge of the subject. You know your subject, so you probably know the journals. as we said before, and then use aggregation sites. The directory of open access journals is a fantastic source where you can have information. And then at ProQuest, we have a open access database that I will present you in a little while that you can actually use to do that, okay? And then ideally, a mixture of the three factors will probably help you out and make sure that you are not fooled by, predatory journals. And this is publicly available content database. This is part of our package of databases that UOC has described. And in the resources tab of the library webpage, you will find them. And on the P, you will find ProQuest publicly available content. Everything in here is open access. So you can actually go to the publications page and you can filter and you can actually find open access journals that we actually check for quality. So you don't have to do it. And then also this is a fantastic resource. It's called Ulrichsweb. It's also in the resources tab of the library website at UOC. And this is a database of journals. And it gives you the information about how to submit and where to sign with all the information of the journal, but also gives you this sign, which is like a little, shirt for an arbiter. So it tells you if the journal is peer reviewed. So you can find out and you can search peer-reviewed journals in your area of knowledge. And then it also tells you which one are open access and which ones are not. So it's a fantastic tool for you to do it. So I invite you to actually check it, Ulrichsweb at the resources tab. So number 3 of 5, write well, respect your audience. It doesn't have to be difficult to read to be a good article. Actually, it will be double good if it's easily readable. So it doesn't mean it can be complex, but it doesn't have to be difficult and complicated to read because of bad writing, actually. So have someone check it, analyze the structure, keep a My Research folder. For example, in ProQuest, you can keep a personal area, or for example, if you use Citation Manager, you can store documents. Not only store documents that are interesting for what they say, store documents that are well written and are like a model for you. So articles that you really want to write like that person. Do that and follow them and read that. There is a structure called INRAD, which stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. And this is a little bit like the progression your article should have. So you start with an introduction, you explain your methodology, you present your results, whatever it is that you found, whatever I tested was good, and then you discuss and you explain what do your findings mean. So this way, you will follow like the train of research, like a train of thought of research, and then your readers will be led in a proper way because it will make sense. So eventually it has to make sense. It has to make sense for the readers, okay? In this line, let me present you something which is really, really, really cool, which is an infographic made by the lovely people at the library at UOC, and I'm going to share the link through the chat for you all. This has a version in Catalan, Spanish, and English, okay, for you. And also in the library website, at the right, there is a tab called Research, and you will find lots of excellent information about everything I'm mentioning today, but also about writing, which is something that we won't touch in detail, and it has, an art of it. This infographic, this is only part of it because it was very big and I wanted to make it readable, but I think it's really, really good and you should check it out. So keep it, it's a PDF. You can keep it and it can be something that you access a reminder. So yeah, use it because it's really, really nice. And then you have cite, and cite well. So citations are very important. You should cite well. First of all, you should use a citation manager. Mendeley is a citation manager at UOC, is the one you should be using. Okay, it's easy to use, and there's a page in the library as well, and the library website that explains you how to do so. And if you have any questions, you can contact them. Why should I cite? Well, it gives credit to the authors. It allows to duplicate your research and it expands it and people can cite you later, and it proves that you conducted extensive research on topic. This is not optional. Citation is compulsory, and good citations are important and are a reason. Bad citations are a reason for rejection. Okay, both in thesis and PhD documents and also in articles. How? Well, it's a bit complex, so there are many styles. Depending on the journal, they will request your styles. There are numeric styles, which basically inside the text you have numbers, and then at the end a bibliography ordered by number. And then you have author date systems like APA from the American Psychological Association, where you have next to whatever it is you are citing in brackets, the author and the year of the article. And then at the end, a bibliography alphabetically normally. And in Spain, for example, in humanities, you might even see in the text author and the year like before, but instead of a bibliography at the end, a footnote with a full citation. That there are different styles. You probably will be knowing the one that is used in your field, but I was mentioning citation managers because, and in your case Mendeley, because that it does it automatically. You can actually install a word plugin that switches. You can insert the citation straight from your application, and also as well, you can change the citation style with one click. So you don't really need to bother to know what are the rules. The program knows the rules for you. So I guess I hope this is enough for you. If you are not using a citation manager, you should be using one from now on. And number 4, looks very obvious, but it's not. Follow submission guidelines. So please, please, please read the requirements of the journal. Because if you are not using the proper citation style, again, and you should because you have a citation manager, so that's no excuse to do it wrongly, you will be rejected. You will get something that is called a desk rejection, which is a rejection when you don't follow a very basic guideline. Your English is very poor, for example. It's too long and they give a top of 10,000 words and you have 15,000. Well, it's going to be rejected. They won't even read it, okay? Your abstract is terrible. This is another thing that is important. Don't do the abstract last minute poorly done. Please spend some time doing a very proper and nice abstract, because the abstract is like the door of your article. So you should really spend some time with the abstract and the keywords. It's not something that you do just because. It's something that is important and you should spend time on that. And sometimes it's good to get a colleague to read it as well and to check it out. But in this case, I think the most important thing is that you read the guidelines of the journal, okay? Then number 5 would be accept the feedback. So if you are lucky and it gets reviewed, you might even be rejected, but you might get some comments out of that. And those comments can be really helpful for you to produce a better article. So be hopeful, because a rejection doesn't mean that this article is bad. It's, take it as an opportunity to have a second version of the article that is even better. And you got feedback, so that's actually great that somebody is reading it to you. And be kind to the reviewers. Accept the critique in a constructive way. So it's meant to help you. It's not meant to destroy you. And this is important because sometimes it's difficult how you take it well positively, because it's part of the process. Rejection is part of the process. And submit, because in some cases authors don't really get feedback, they get frustrated or something, and then they don't resubmit. Please resubmit it. It is important, so please do it. So this is it mostly. Let's recap, and then I will leave you for some questions. Know your field. Check the previous research. Know the key researchers, know the key journals, ask the library if you have any question. Number 2, pick the right journal, which is the best fit for your subject. So do you know the editorial board of whatever it is where you want to publish? Check quality impact factors, but don't go mad with that. It's very difficult if you're a new researcher, an early career researcher, to publish in a high impact journal. Maybe you can if you are doing it collaboratively with someone else who has published before. So sometimes this is actually a good way to start, being just one of many authors in a paper, but it's difficult to get published by high impact journals because they really get lots of submissions. Don't rule out open access, consider open access, but be mindful of predatory journals, as we explained before. Number 3, write well. Your thesis, your dissertation, it's an excellent work, but it's very long, and an article is shorter than that. So yeah, if you are using your dissertation, by all means do that. I mean, it's part of the process, but write it well. So don't use it like a shortcut, to cut and paste and then produce something that doesn't make any sense. Follow the rules of writing. Make it easy for your audience to understand. Be clear. Your structure has to be clear. It doesn't have to be difficult to read to be, a good academic article. It is important. And be always clear on the context of what you're doing, on your methodology, on your conclusions. Organize it in the IMRAD way. Start with the introduction, finish with the conclusion, and guide your readers through that. It's difficult to do, but it's helpful. And remember the lovely infographic from the library of UOC, which is very helpful, and you can actually print and keep it or have it as a reminder. And then ask colleagues to give you feedback from whatever it is you're doing. Then follow the submission rules and requirements of the journal and avoid the reject. So read the guidelines, please. Read them. And then finally accept the feedback and revise accordingly. So this is it mostly. Finally, we will put this presentation for you, the library at UOC. We will send it to you. And this is more or less what we accomplished. These are the initial objectives. Probably now these words make more sense to you. I hope so, at least. Then just to show you that there are lots of bibliography at the end, we cited some of it inside the PowerPoint so that you can catch the references. Here you have publishers like Sage or Oxford. Click continue and you will see a very short, smiley faces where we ask you, what do you think about whatever it is that happened in this session? There's also a little field where you can write your opinion and you can do it in, in English or in Catalan or in Spanish, whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. And then finally, this is a link to a survey requested by our library at UOC. If you have any questions after this, feel free to actually contact the library. And you who are listening to the recording, thank you for joining in. If you have any questions, please ask at the library and have a nice afternoon.